Oh,
Welcome back to Ask a CPA. My name is Brett Phillips. I am a CPA here in Dallas, Texas. We specialize in small businesses, high net worth individuals, and I am here with the fabulous Russell Wallace, CPA. What's going on, man? How are you?
doing well, Brett. Doing well. Thanks for having me on again. Enjoy talking about how we can save some people some money in taxes tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We just got hit with a big snowstorm over the past week, so my kids have been out of school, and yeah, I've been out sliding down hills for the past week. Did you guys enjoy the snow?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. For all of our northern listeners, they may not fully understand how magical of an experience it is for us to get snow and not just ice here in Dallas. But we got a legit snow, which happens about once a decade for us.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was like good. You could just make really good. It's like perfect snow, big flakes. You can make really good snowballs. Um, yeah, we got in a few snowball fights. It's
Oh
good
yeah.
times. You guys show those
Oh,
kids who's the boss every once in a while.
that's right. That's right. I was hammering my kids. Uh,
Me
my
too.
son thought he was a good baseball player, right? And so he thought he could take me down, but
Yeah,
I showed him some old man muscles, right? And got out there and just hammered him.
there you go. You got that old man strength. I love it. Well, cool. We got a few questions here from listeners. People submitted their questions through our website at askacpa.co. And then we jump on here each week. We run through a bunch of questions and answer them for you. So if you have a question, head over to our website and you can submit it there. You can, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can submit a question in the comments. If you're listening on Spotify or one of the other podcast channels, just go to our website. It's askacpa.co, and you can submit your questions, and we'll jump on here and let you know what we think about it. The first question here is from Emily in Austin, Texas. Emily asks, I am a photographer. What expenses can I deduct on my taxes, and how do I track them throughout the year? This is a great question, very common question. What do you think, Russell?
Well, yeah, I like this question because it's something that we get asked all the time, right? And it goes down to especially the how do I track them throughout the year? And I think a lot of people think they've got to jump in and learn QuickBooks and all those things, which is great. If it's going to be a business you're going to have for a while, if it's your main gig, it's probably a good idea to do so. You should look up Brett Phillips on Amazon, right? He's got some great books out there about how to start the QuickBooks up and get
There
that
you go.
going, especially for a couple different small businesses, types of small businesses there. But for photography business, especially if you're just starting, I like to tell clients, you know, start just do the minimum that you have to do on kind of the administrative side. And the best thing that you can really do is when you're starting a small business is just kind of focus on the thing that you're doing, right? Now we've got to set up a couple of guardrails in place. So I tell people, go ahead and get business bank account and a business credit card account. Even if that credit card account or that bank account's in your personal name, they're just exclusively used for business. And if you do that, it really helps you segregate those business expenses. It'll help you on an audit later on if you get audited. It'll help you when you do your taxes. When you start doing estimated tax payments, it'll be really easy to calculate how much money you're making, if I need to make estimated tax payments or not. But that's really the key. So as your business grows, for sure, set up QuickBooks, start tracking it in accounting software. Hire a CPA even to do the bookkeeping for you if you get large enough. But in the beginning, keep those accounts separate, right? That's really, really, really going to help. Do you tell your clients anything else as far as the tracking expenses or?
No, I think that's the biggest key is segregate things between your personal and your business. Like you said, put up those guardrails so you're not commingling funds. Um, with the photography business, you probably have little or no exposure to litigation, but still setting up an LLC is probably a good idea. Um, you never know if someone trips over your equipment or, you know, if you're doing wedding photography or something and you lose the the memory card that has holding all these all these photographs or who knows what could possibly happen where that could lead to litigation. So yeah, setting up a separate LLC is
Yeah.
probably a good idea. That just protects your personal assets from any potential exposure. legally. Doesn't really provide you any additional tax benefits, but certainly, segregates your personal activity from your business and keeps those separate.
Yeah, usually
Yeah,
what I tell clients on that is that if you're going to if you have clients that come to you, or if you go to clients and be kind of out and about. So imagine like a realtor driving in a car, a photography business where you're like walking through the woods, you're telling people to like sit up on this ledge of the pond or something, right? You just don't know what's going to happen, right? Somebody gets bit by a snake or something when you tell them to walk out into the trees. That it's
you
just
told me to walk through this this
yeah,
field into
exactly.
this rattlesnake den.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but if you're just like an internet business and you're just communicating with people back and forth, I don't know, you're putting some information together online or writing some code or something. It's really probably it's not something you need to really worry about, especially initially. But anytime you interact in person with clients, then that's when I say, look, you just need an LLC. It's cheap, it's easy. It's just not a lot of it's a lot of protection for a little bit of cost, and keeping those business accounts and credit card accounts separately also helps to make sure you don't do what they call pierce the corporate veil, right? So that's always the problem when people set these LLCs up and then they don't treat them like a business, and so if you don't treat it like a business, the court won't either, right? That's
Right.
becomes kind of problematic. But
Yep.
Emily also asked about deducting taxes on a small business here, and
Yeah.
and it's one of those things that when you having a business is probably the greatest tax planning, tax saving tool that you can have, right? Because it just opens up all these other things. Um, and so if you're somebody who's probably out there loving photography and taking pictures anyway, by doing it for a business, now all this equipment that you bought for your hobby, because you have a real profit motive, and there's the key, right? We got to have a real profit motive that you can now deduct all those things. Those other things are deductible expenses. If you don't have health insurance through your employer, now you can do the self-employed health insurance deduction. When you drive around, either to scope out new places to shoot, with or without clients, right? You don't have to have a client there to be scoping some of this out. So you're driving around doing that. You're driving around with clients. Now we've got our mileage expense. We got to keep track of our mileage log, but we can deduct those things. So it really opens up a lot of additional things. For qualified retirement contributions, right? So
Right.
that's a big one. I think that people don't think about. Business owners can contribute up to $69,000 in 2025 into a qualified retirement account. I mean, that is huge. That's just right off the top from an income standpoint, just to be able to save money, right? So it's these there's a lot of these little things that you add them all up and they become real tax savings.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, that's great. It's a great question, Emily. We appreciate it, and yeah, I hope your photography business goes well. That's awesome. The next question is from Charlotte in Boston. Boston. I can't do a Boston accent. Boston,
Let's
Massachusetts.
hear it. Let's hear you try though.
She says, I just set up an LLC and want to start a side hustle business this year. It's a new year, new resolutions. That's awesome, Charlotte. She asked, what type of business do you recommend starting? Well, this is kind of an open-ended question. I mean, we see a lot of different businesses in all different types of industries. It really depends, Charlotte, on what you're good at. I mean, what's your passion? The most thing that I see is that people just give up on ideas. They'll get things started, it's exciting, and then the day to day starts to hit them, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like to mow lawns or whatever," and they just give up on that side hustle. So, really making sure you have a passion for it, something that you already know and understand, or that you're educated in, would help as well. Um, some things that I look at when I'm considering starting a new business is, first I want to look for trends and see if it's something that's growing or an industry that's shrinking. I definitely wanted to invest in industries that are growing. Um, Another thing I look for is reoccurring revenue. I don't want to always be chasing my next customer. So anything that has a reoccurring theme to it, think like lawn care, right? Your lawn's gonna keep growing. It needs to be mowed every week. Think about it, like cutting your hair. I don't have this problem, but other people do, where your hair keeps growing, and it needs to be cut. Um, so things that are reoccurring businesses, I really like. Russell and I are both in the tax and accounting field. People have to file their taxes every year. We'll see those clients, year after year. We build long-term relationships with them, because it's reoccurring business. We're not constantly going after our next client, or we're doing monthly accounting forms. So then we're really talking to them quite often. Um, Another thing that I would consider is how capital intensive the business is. You don't want to go off and start something that's going to take a ton of capital to start up. So low capital, low barriers to entry. That means it's going to be a competitive market. But service businesses are great. They have low capital to get into. Um, what else do I like? I like anything that you can kind of test the ideas. So if you could go
Mm.
out and put an ad out in, Facebook Marketplace, or if you're thinking about, you know, building a set for, like we were just talking about photographers. Photographers sometimes they'll have like these sets that people have created and they'll bring to wedding venues. Well, just find something that you think is cool online, take a picture of it, put it up on Facebook Marketplace, and see if people want it. If people don't want it, then don't bother making it and go through the trouble of setting it all up. Just test the idea. It doesn't cost you anything, but test it and see if there's a demand for that product or service. If there's no demand, then don't bother going through the hassle of setting it up. I've made that mistake when I've thought, oh, this would be a cool idea. I think it could be profitable, and I go through and set up the whole website, start running ads to it, and it's crickets. Like nobody wants what I'm selling. So I'm like, oh well, I guess I should have tested that before I went through the whole process of setting everything up. So um, those are the things that I mainly look for. I like reoccurring businesses. I like low capital, low entry to play in the game, and I like when you can test the idea. What kind of ideas do you have, Russell, for side? And there's a million of them, so I don't want to like necessarily give any specifics. You can if you have something that you really like, but there's you can make money doing almost anything.
Yeah, I think that that's right. One of the things that you see as a CPA is everyone you see all these people make money, and sometimes lots and lots of money in ways that you never even imagined. Like it's really pretty wild. All the different ways that people can make money, especially when even when you just segregate those people who make a million plus, right? It's pretty wild. Like all the people who make over $1 million a year, and things that I wouldn't think you could make $10,000, right?
Right.
Uh, it's
Yeah.
that, and then you kind of start to wonder as a CPA, you start to kind of wonder like, what am I doing with my life, right? You see all these people that make money in these kind of crazy ways, but uh, I think what you said there is all smart, and the only thing I would add is that all these online platforms, Upwork, Etsy, Udemy, like there's a lot of ways to get stuff out there, and like you said, like test the market first, right? So you don't have to rely on setting up your own website, your own Spotify, try to like Google ads to get traffic on your website or build up a Twitter presence or an Instagram presence. So you don't have to do a lot of that anymore because of these online marketplaces, and they're great ways to kind of quick test things. You can also get on there and just see what it is that you're trying to do, whether it's like selling something or a process or you can sell Excel spreadsheets, which is pretty wild, right? But
Right.
or a class or whatever it happens to be, like you can get on there and just kind of see what other people are doing, what other people are charging, and these are you can get metrics from across the world, not just in the U.S. But then you can also filter them. A lot of times, filter them down to the state, and sometimes you can even filter them down to your city, and so you can get a really good idea of what people are doing. It's really no cost, no risk, except for time. It's just a little bit of time, maybe a
Right.
couple $100 in some software, and you can be selling stuff online. And if it gets some traction, well, now you can get into those other things, developing a website, your own web store, and all of that stuff. But no reason to go in and jump in and do it right off the bat, right? There's kind of a saying, right, that the only reason businesses fail is because they run out of working capital. And so starting too big and too expensive, it's a great way to run out of working capital, right? And
That's right.
so save that as much best you can and bootstrap it, and you can do a lot of A/B testing that way too.
Yeah. One kind of industry that I really like is just like renting things. So anything that you can rent, whether it be trailers or roll off like garbage trailers, porta
Oh yeah,
potties, any kind of equipment, anything that you can rent and you pay for it once and you can just keep renting it out. I think is a great business model. Um, even things like cars and different items that you can just, it's a one-time purchase. And then especially if you can get your purchase price back in a short period of time, so then you're just
mm-hmm.
making profit after that. And a lot of people think about like those bounce house things that you see for like kids' birthday
Oh
parties.
yeah,
Once you have kids, you start going to all these birthday parties, and everybody has a bounce house, and their kids are just, going crazy in those things. And you just start running the numbers, and you're like, man, this thing costs, $200 to rent, or $300. I don't know how much they cost now. A few $100s to rent, and they cost what, 2 or 3 grand to buy. And
yeah,
you're like, you're breaking even pretty quick there, and then it's just profit, and you can just, it is kind of a pain because it's a big object. You got to roll it up
yeah,
and clean it, and do all the servicing and
yeah,
everything to it. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about renting washer and dryers, which I kind of thought was an interesting idea because it's relatively inexpensive to buy, especially if you buy a lot of them, and then you're renting these things for 50-60 bucks a month, and the break even's quick, and then you have this unit that's just out there renting, and you can take accelerated depreciation on it. Um, and it's very tax advantageous, and it's reoccurring revenue. So yeah, if you're up for an idea like that, I would consider anything that you can rent. I think is a good business.
yeah, yeah. Washer and dryers, renting washer and dryers. Again, the things that you never imagine you can make money off of. But
Right,
and
it's wild.
I have a client that his income bounces between about $500,000 and $1 million a year renting porta potties. It's big money. It's not a job that I
Yeah,
think most people want to do, or at least think they want to do. But he's
right,
also, he's not cleaning porta potties, right?
right.
But yeah, so he found a bunch of them on sale once, and just bought a bunch at one time, and then he had a porta potty rental business, and now he nets a lot of money every year. It's
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Good for him. It's not necessarily a business I'd like to do, but you know,
definitely falls in the, what is it? Is it Jim Rowe, the dirty business guy? Dirty
yeah,
jobs guy. But the whole point of that show is that there's a lot of dirty jobs out there, and people make a lot of money doing them.
that's
It's a
right.
necessary service, and he does well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Good for him. That's great. Well, cool. Well, Russell, this was a great episode. We had a couple good questions. Thank you, Emily and Charlotte, for those questions. And thank you everyone for watching or listening, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this podcast. We appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We'll see you guys next time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Russell.
Bye.